The history of Palestine is thousands of years old, but who were the Philistines? First up, we have to go back to the question of identity, because the truth is, we're not 100% sure who they were. But there are some pretty solid theories. The most popular one is that they were part of the Sea Peoples. Each city was independent but shared a common culture. They spoke a similar language, worshipped the same gods, and even had similar pottery. A mysterious group of warriors from the Aegean area, think Greece, Crete, who arrived in the region around 1200 BCE, just after the Egyptian Empire had fallen. They lived in cities, had their own language and culture, and even kept slaves. They worshipped a number of gods, but the most important one was called Dagon, a fertility god with the head of a man and the body of a fish. We also know that they interacted with the Canaanites, the people who lived in the area before the Israelites came. In fact, some historians believe that the Philistines and the Canaanites shared a common ancestor. The Philistines were a seafaring people who lived along the coast, while the Canaanites were more of a nomadic tribe who lived in the desert. They even built him huge temples where they practiced some pretty wild rituals. Unfortunately, those temples no longer exist. They were destroyed thousands of years ago. In fact, some historians believe that the Philistines were actually more advanced than the Israelites, because they were located near the Egyptian Empire, one of the most advanced civilizations in the ancient world. So the Philistines probably picked up some of that knowledge. For example, they were some of the first people in the region to use iron weapons. And instead of building their houses out of mud brick, they built them out of stone. They fought against each other over and over again, which may lead you to believe that the Philistines were uncivilized, violent people, sort of like the Mongols. But the truth is, the Bible was written during a time of war. The Israelites viewed the Philistines as a threat, so they wrote stories about how great Israel's heroes were and how they defeated the Philistine Goliath, how they stole the Philistines' Ark of the Covenant, and how Samson, the strongest man in the world, slew thousands of Philistines. But these are just stories. They may not be 100% true. This would make them cousins to the ancient Greeks and Crete. Scholars believe they settled in 5 main city-states along the coast: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath, which together became known as the Philistine Peninsula. Now, if you've read the Bible, you'll know that the Philistines are the sworn enemies of the Israelites. In reality, the Philistines were probably more like the Israelites than they were like the Mongols. We also know quite a bit about their religion. We do know that the Philistines interacted with the Egyptians because at one point the Egyptians took over one of their cities, Ashkelon, and made it into a fortified military base. Eventually, the Philistines got caught up in the Neo-Assyrian and Babylonian empires, and their culture vanished. But their name lives on in Palestine.